I'm Dave Palumbo, founder of Species Nutrition. I created Species Nutrition with one mission in mind: to provide bodybuilders and serious athletes with no-nonsense supplements that work and are backed by science. From my earliest bodybuilding days, I believed in only putting the best in my body, and that lives on in the Species Nutrition line of products. We use only top-of-the-line formulations dosed for maximum results and the best flavoring systems available. I put my name and reputation on every bottle of Species Nutrition products. If you want to be your absolute best, join the evolution. Welcome back, guys, to GuruTalk, one of the most popular shows on our network. And you know, I'm really happy to announce our guest today because, first of all, the topic is great. We're going to talk about masks, when it's right to wear them, when it's not right to wear them, how to be safe in the gym, and how we can get the government to listen to these, I guess, guidelines that we're going to lay out in today's show. And joining me today is an old friend of mine, Mike Torchia, former Mr. California, and one of the smartest guys I know in our industry, Jerry Brainum. Welcome, both of you guys, to the show.
Hi, Dave. Thank you.
Mike, you know, it's funny. I remember back in the day, I was training up in Westchester in Bally's Total Fitness up there, and you walked in, and this is when I first got into bodybuilding, and you were jacked. I think you had just come back from California. You won the Mr. California title, and I was like, holy, that's a real bodybuilder. So you were the first real bodybuilder I had ever actually seen in the gym training, and it's ironic that we're still friends after all these years. Talk to me a little bit about what you're doing over there in California. I mean, the last time we talked, you were getting the California legislation to make some laws about playing the Wii game, and you actually made some headway on that.
Yeah, I did. What I found was when people were doing the exercises or sports play with the Wii Fit, that people started getting injured, and they were exerting themselves exceptionally hard because they didn't have the sensors triangulated. So when someone was sweeping their arm, say to do a tennis move, like they were, doing a shot, like or overhead serve, right, they were really having to snap several times because it wasn't registering. And what was happening, people were overexerting themselves and tearing their rotator cuff. People were falling down with the soccer games and tearing their meniscus. So I have all these inside contacts at all the different hospitals. So they were telling me about how all these people were getting injured with the Wii Fit game. So I then I had an actual geek who specializes in these games, and he said all they have to do is add another sensor. So then this way it's triangulated, and people can easily sweep their arm, right, whether they're playing baseball or tennis or what it may be, and they won't have to exert themselves so much because people got obsessed. Right.
Yeah.
And I wrote a letter, a very, really tough letter to the president of Nintendo, and I warned him that people were getting injured, yeah, and that someone's going to end up dying if you don't do anything about it. Well, sure enough, 3 weeks later, a guy died. He had a heart attack playing Wii Fit.
I remember that, yeah.
So then I got contacted by the president of Nintendo.
That's funny.
And he said, what can we do?
Right.
And I had my tech guy write out everything in detail, and I gave him my simple advice about hydrating, taking breaks every 20 minutes, so they're not going obsessively for hours and hours and hours.
Right.
And sure enough, they did it. They made the change, but I did threaten a class action suit. I was in Kevin and Bean, one of the biggest, highest rated radio shows, and I had so many people writing to me wanting to be part of this class action suit.
Right.
But the end result was I made them change it. People stopped getting hurt, and they were safely able to play their game and do the activities safely. Now, I reached out to you to let you know, here I am again. I'm like the health and fitness police, okay?
I love it. I love it, yeah.
Right? So I know Eric Garcetti. In fact, I helped him become mayor. I helped raise money for him. I knew him when he was a councilman. Mm-hmm. And I was reaching out to him, telling him, Eric, listen, people are wearing masks by driving their cars. They're getting lightheaded. They're crashing into other cars. People are riding their bikes. and fainting in the streets, are falling off their bikes. The emergency rooms are full of people injured because they're running around outside thinking it's safe to wear a mask while exerting themselves.
Why? My question is, why are these people wearing masks while they're riding a bike? Did they think like a cruise missile's coming down their throat? I mean, what are they? I can understand when you go into a supermarket where there's a lot of people, but if you're riding in fresh air outside, why are people wearing masks out there? Are they scared?
Here's why. The rangers in the parks have been giving citations for $1,000.
Wow.
If you are not wearing a mask in Los Angeles, it's $1,000 fine.
I didn't know that. Holy mackerel.
Yes. Now, my neighbor fell down and tripped because he got lightheaded and broke his jaw, knocked out all his teeth because he was running in the street with a mask on. Now, listen, there's different levels of masks. I'm talking about, seriously, a lot of people that are using those N95 respirators.
I was hyperventilating in the supermarket when I was walking into Sam's Club a couple times with those stupid masks on. I can't get enough oxygen in because, it's a big store.
Now, think about it. What if someone's like aggressively doing cardio?
Yeah.
And now you're forcing back that carbon dioxide. Well, why don't we let Jerry share what happens?
Jerry Brainum, tell us what happens when you exercise with a mask on.
Okay, first of all, common sense. Like Dave, you just pointed out, it's kind of idiotic to wear a mask when you're involved in heavy physical activity. The more oxygen you take in, the more active you are, the more carbon dioxide you're going to produce. And if you got the mask on, it's kind of pushing the carbon dioxide back in. So then you could get symptoms like Mike says, lightheadedness, dizziness. You could get muscle twitches. In a worst case scenario, you could pass out, right? So the thing is, they have you wear a mask. A lot of people misunderstand the reason for the mask. I mean, the mask doesn't actually protect you from getting the virus because the virus, the mask, like the usual cloth mask, not the N95, those are the tighter masks. They literally block.
No one wears those masks though, Jerry.
Nobody wears those masks. Yeah. There's a shortage, as you know, in the news, that the medical field, they can't even get enough of those. But if we're talking about the regular, like the homemade cloth mask, I mean, the air around it, you could still get in there. But the thing is, the main reason to wear it, and this is what people misunderstand, is that about 25% of people walking around might have been exposed to the virus, but they're not showing symptoms, but they can transmit it if they just get this. People think they have to sneeze on you or cough. Just talking to them, if you're within 6 feet, they can give you the virus.
Wow.
So it's basically those people that don't know they have the virus, it's for them. They're the ones that
Jerry, do you think that this virus was manufactured as opposed to naturally occurring?
I looked into that. Honestly, if you look at the structure of the virus, like the viral signatures, whatever you want to call it, it doesn't look like it was.
Oh, really? What about the spike proteins that they say look like they come from HIV virus?
Well, I haven't 100% ruled it out. Let me put it that way. I mean, if you look at from a conspiracy theory type of thing, this would be a terrific weapon for China to use to screw up the Western world. I mean, they're tremendously successful. They've literally closed down the economy,
Sure.
So you can't completely delete those type of thoughts, But right now, I've looked at a couple of studies, and the virologists that really know about this stuff, they say that right now it looks like it's a natural. It's basically a mutation of a type of a coronavirus. They think it started in bats. They're not even 100% sure of that. You know the story. It started in that open animal market.
Yeah, I don't know if I believe that bullshit.
How all this happened is still unclear. I mean, how did it mutate? Into the bat and this and that. Bats carry hundreds of coronaviruses.
Right. What about the? They show that there's people who own. I don't even know if it's the Gates Foundation or someone owns a patent on this virus. Like they've shown that it's been patented because they were using it in labs and stuff like that.
Well, that's not really true. No? That's one of the conspiracy theories. It's not that the Gates Foundation holds a patent on the virus. They hold a patent on something kind of related to it, but not the virus itself.
Okay.
And people who don't like Gates, For some reason, this guy inspires a lot of hatred. This Bill Gates.
Yeah.
I mean,
He wants to vaccinate people so they don't like him,
I mean, a lot of people just can't take the idea that this guy is worth $108 billion. It just bugs the crap out of him. This guy makes more money in a minute than the average people make in like 3 years.
Yeah.
And it drives them crazy. They get very jealous of the guy. But I don't think he's quite as bad as people say. I mean, he was the first guy to put out $200 million to combat the virus. It has nothing to do with vaccines.
Yeah.
He did it to research the virus. I mean, why would he do that? You know what I mean? Nobody really has a patent on it. That's a misinterpretation of the research, but it's going around. I mean, I laugh when I see that. I mean,
all right, let's get back to the mask, for instance. So
okay.
What you're saying is you're wearing a mask in case you have the virus and you don't want to spew it out to other people. So it's not that it's going to prevent you from catching it from someone else.
Right,
Okay.
right, exactly. In other words, you can say, people don't really. Let me give you an example, Dave. There was a guy in the news. This guy was a doctor. He did everything right. I mean, he wore the mask all the time. I mean, he's used to wearing a mask anyway,
right.
but
Sure.
He wore it. He washed his hands, all the things. He kept 6 feet away from people, did everything right. But you know where he made his mistake? He had to take a short plane ride. It was a 1 hour ride. On the plane, he tried to keep away from the so-called social distancing.
Yeah.
But they're on a plane, they recirculate the air.
Right.
So people don't know that if somebody on that fucking plane has, you're gonna get it, buddy. Everybody, you're gonna get it. Yeah. And this doctor was interviewed from a hospital bed. He got the virus.
Wow.
And get this, Dave. He was wearing a mask.
Right.
He was wearing a mask. How did he get it? He thinks it went through his eyes.
Oh,
his eyes.
It could have. Yeah, it could have. It's crazy.
Think about that for a second. That means when you wear a mask and say, you go in public, you're wearing the mask.
Yeah.
It's if you encounter somebody who has the virus, if they're not wearing a mask,
right.
If they do get too close to you, even with the mask, it's going to get in your freaking eyes.
Well, you got the glasses on to block it, Jerry. Thank God for that.
Yeah. I mean, of course, you wear.
I'm gonna start wearing goggles now when I go out.
Hey, seriously, don't laugh. Some people are walking around with those plastic face guards. I'm serious. They're actually selling them online. They're selling them online now.
Now, why is Dr. Fauci, telling people not to wear masks anymore? Did you see that latest?
I'm not sure. They go back and forth. I really don't.
They change their mind every day. Now,
yeah, I mean.
Why would anyone in their right mind? Well, I guess Mike answered that question. They're giving. Yeah. Why are they giving fines out, Jerry, for people not wearing masks while exercising in public, like running or biking? I mean, that's insane. I mean, who's giving these people this information to put out there in California? I think they're smoking. You guys are smoking too much pot out there. I don't know what's going on.
It's very obvious that particular action. That the people that decreed that idea of a fine, to give a person a fine for not wearing a mask when they're involved, they obviously did not consult any exercise physiology.
Definitely not.
The science. They just arbitrarily said, you don't wear a mask, you're getting the fine. They didn't even bother to look into it. That's why they do. Because, like I said earlier, and Mike agrees with it, the idea of wearing a mask when you're involved in heavy physical activity is inane. It's stupid because you are going to get, because just walking around is one thing, but when you're doing the heavy breathing, you're going to increase the carbon dioxide. Right. Some people, especially people with pre-existing lung, I have asthma.
Right.
Or let's say somebody with COPD, those people are even more prone to this. I thought about this. I couldn't imagine, I mean, if Gold's Gym opens up and they say, well, everybody who comes in has to wear a mask, I can't go back to the gym until they get rid of it. I will not try to train in a mask.
We're going to talk about that in a minute. But now, what's differentiate between hypoxia training, which people have heard that term, versus wearing a mask all the time in the gym? What would be the difference between those two?
Well, the hypoxia training produces a lesser degree of carbon dioxide inhalation. In other words, you're basically reducing the oxygen intake, and as a means of supposedly. There's some studies that show it stimulates muscle growth, but it doesn't involve a huge intake of carbon dioxide. Right. In other words, if it did, then you would have people passing out the gym. So there's a difference between lowering the, limiting the oxygen intake and the heavy breathing where you breathe in. People don't realize that one of the reasons why trees are so great, trees actually do the opposite of us. In other words, they breathe in carbon dioxide and basically breathe out oxygen. That's where we get the oxygen in the air.
Right.
This is one of the problems with the cutting down the rainforests, because a large percentage of the oxygen produced on Earth comes from the rainforest.
Yep.
So if you eliminate the rainforest, you're basically fucking yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, it's okay.
Actually, I from what I understand, also the oceans produce most of the oxygen from the algae. Is that true? Also,
That's true. Yeah, the plants in the ocean also contributes. But the major oxygen supply of the world comes from the rainforest.
Yeah, and we're cutting it down like a bunch of morons.
We're cutting it down.
I wanted to bring up here's the thing is, Governor Newsom is not into exercise, and neither is Garcetti. So they would understand also too that the more physically fit a person is, the more apt to be able to have a stronger immune system to fight off this virus. But instead, he wants people to be sedentary. In 72 hours, your muscles atrophy. You're weakening your system. You're more apt to be susceptible to get, like Jerry said, you go outside, you walk around, you're getting exposed to your eyeballs. It's terrible. We should get back in the gym, have guidelines, and give people sensible advice to take your mask off during the day when you're working. Take some brain breaks, maybe every 20, 30 minutes. When you're in the gym, have guidelines, but don't tell people not to exercise. You're weakening the system. You're making us more vulnerable to exposure to diseases and viruses. It's terrible.
We got to get Arnold involved in this one because Arnold's got connections in California. He should be explaining to these people how to exercise properly. Jerry, what are the guidelines that people should adhere to once these gyms, well, in Florida here where I am, the gyms are open now, but what are the guidelines people should be aware of? I haven't gone back to the gym because I have a gym at my house, but if you're going to go to the gym, what would you recommend people do?
Okay, first of all, I just want to underscore what Mike said. To me, one of the great ironies of this whole situation with the lockdowns and telling people to stay at home is that a lot of people need to go to the gym, not just for the physical reasons, for the psychological reasons. It's a great stress reducer. A lot of people, it's my personal stress reducer. And this is how I reduce stress, by going to the gym. And also, if you have borderline certain diseases like cardiovascular disease, the longer you keep away from physical activity, the worse it's going to get. And people don't realize the essential. I mean, when they talk about these different phases of opening things up, gyms, like I said, Florida and Georgia, other states, they've opened up the gyms. But up here in California, gyms are way down the list of things to reopen. That's not a good idea. Now, to answer your question, I think there is a problem with gyms. I mean, we all work out. We know the truth. People around each other. You're breathing heavy. I mean, whether you're just lifting weights, when you're doing aerobics, it's even worse. The thing is, so you really, until this thing is controlled, meaning that whether it's herd immunity or vaccines, until the virus really is controlled, and right now it's not. Because I want to point out that the states that I just heard this on the news, most of the states that have opened up, the virus cases have not greatly increased, but they've increased a little bit. That indicates that the virus is still around and it's still strong. So taking that into account, you're going to have to do this social distancing stuff in the gym. In other words, if you do let's say an aerobic machine, you got to keep at least 6 feet away. You're going to have to close off some of the machines. And when you're working out the gym, if you're a gym owner, a lot of them are already doing this. You're going to have to sanitize the equipment. You have to go around with a one of those sprays that kills the virus. I'm talking about like every half hour, every hour. Now, the guys that were working out, now I was doing this even before they closed Gold's Gym. I always wash my hands before leaving the gym anyway. But when this happened, before they closed the gym, I'm not kidding you, I was actually washing my hands after every exercise. Every freaking exercise, I go in and wash my hands. People thought I had some sort of, urinary problem. But I was going in and washing my hands for 30 seconds after every exercise. And I also, another thing, never, ever, if you're in the gym, don't touch your freaking face. That's the biggest transmission. That's the main way people get the disease. Don't touch your nose or your mouth. Don't touch. You got to. By the way, that's one of the reasons why people also are told to wear masks to remind them, don't touch your face.
Right.
That's how you get the virus more than any other way.
I would recommend that people not do cardio in the gym. It's nice out now. The weather's great. Go outside and do your cardio in the fresh air. Do your weight training in the gym. Get out of there. Don't stay in there and start breathing and huffing and puffing on the cardio machines. I think that's unnecessary. I think you can go outside and walk and ride your bike, whatever you want to do outside. I think that's to me that's safer because you're not going to be able to wear a mask like Mike said doing cardio in the gym. You're going to pass out and fall off the treadmill. Yeah.
Also, I think it's also important for the gym to limit, and this goes for any gym. You have to limit the amount of people you could let in there. I mean, I train at Gold's. When I go, it's late at night. It's not very crowded. You could actually do the social distancing. But I've been in there during the day, and I'm telling you, Mike, we've all been. The people are packed in like sardines. I mean, they're right next to each other. Yeah. You can't do that. Right now, you're gonna have to limit the amount of people that come into the gym at one time for at least a couple of months, maybe even 9 months or something like that.
Wow.
This is to piss people off because what they're gonna have to do, a gym like Gold's that has a lot of members, they're gonna probably have to schedule the workouts. Meaning, unless you train at night, well, even at night, because if people start coming at night, they're going to have to limit the amount of people.
Sure.
So they're going to have to train literally by appointment. And that's going to piss off. I see a lot of problems with that because people want to train when they want to train.
Sure.
They don't want to be told you have to come in at 3 p.m. or whatever. I see a real problem with that. That's going to be a problem.
Yeah, in fact, Dave, I got an email for Harvey Spevek, who owns Equinox.
Oh,
and
really?
They're going to force people to make an appointment, like you're making a reservation for a restaurant. And you have a certain amount of time you can exercise, and they're going to have it on their app, and they'll let you know how many slots there are because there are only going to be a certain amount of members that can work out at a time, and they're going to check your temperature when you check in at the desk.
Right. That's smart. I guess that's smart. Jerry, let me ask you a question. I have young kids. My one oldest, he's 4.5. He's going to be He's supposed to start. VPK in August. Would you send your kids back to school?
Yeah, that's a good question. It depends on what kind of safety precautions they're being taken. Because, I don't know if you know, Dave, you probably do, because I know you're into the science also. There's a type of heart disease that the virus is causing in children. Mm-hmm. It's very similar to a disease called Kawasaki disease.
Right.
Healthy kids can get this freaking disease, and it could give them the heart conditions that a person 67 years old would get, So as a parent, I'm not a parent, but, if I had a kid, I would have to look into it and see what kind of safety precautions. Same deal, just like they can't let the kids hang out together.
Jerry, these kids, they put the toys in their mouth. They touch everything. It's impossible to keep them apart.
I'll be honest with you. All right, I'm gonna answer your question directly.
All right.
If I were a parent right now, until there's more evidence that the virus is dying down, I personally would not want to send my kid back to a school. It's too risky.
Right.
I would you're a smart guy.
Yeah.
You can teach your kid at home, homeschooling.
Yeah.
That's what I would do. I would not for the reason you just said, because young kids, they're little kids.
Yeah.
They're not keep away from each other. They put their hands in each other's mouth. Come on, you can't do it. You can't. It's not going to work.
Yeah.
There's nothing you can do about that.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. So, Mike, what can we do? What are you doing to force the hand of the California state legislature to enact some sane laws now? Because obviously, it's not just a matter of whether people don't know. It's if you don't wear the mask right now, you get fined $1,000. How are you going to fix this problem?
Well, I think I'm going to use the power of media. I have several attorneys that are interested in working with me. We're going to actually petition that they make these guidelines publicly to every citizen in the state of California, because otherwise they're going to be liable for deaths, for injuries to people because of the fact that they're misinformed. They don't understand what happens to the body, as Jerry shared with you. So we're going to have a whole list of things that must be addressed. If it isn't, then we're going to sue the state of California, and we're going to sue Mayor Garcetti. And I'm bringing it to the media. I have line producers from every major studio that want me to come on with the lawyer, with Jerry, with other infectious disease doctors to show that we are causing more harm than good.
All right. Well, I'm glad that you are stepping up to the plate, because obviously you have no financial gain in this. You just want to really educate the community and make sure that people stay safe and don't get hurt. And that's a very pure, obviously, very honorable thing you're doing. Now, Jerry, before we let you guys go, give me a list of what nutritional supplements would you add to your stack to help the immunity of people out there, to boost the immune system. Obviously, we know zinc is good to stop the replication of the virus, but what would you take to actually enhance the immune system?
Well, definitely vitamin C, because there's a lot of, again, here we go. There's a lot of myths online that if you take a huge amount of intravenous vitamin C, it'll knock out the virus. That hasn't been proven, but vitamin C does build up the immune system. I would say probably the most important single vitamin is vitamin D, because vitamin D directly, people don't realize, if you look at the immune cells, they have something called killer T cells. Yes. These are the type of immune cells that directly kill viruses. And people don't, this is a very little known fact. Killer T cells are activated by the active hormonal form of vitamin D. In other words, without a sufficient amount of vitamin D, your killer T cells don't work.
Wow, so didn't know that.
Very few people.
And 85% of Americans are vitamin D3 deficient. That's the funny thing.
Exactly. So I would right away tell people to take about 2,000 units of vitamin D. They're very tiny capsules. A baby can take them.
I say I'm gonna disagree with you. I say 7,000 units of vitamin D3. Okay. Because you got to get your levels up to 50 or higher.
You're right. Right. You're right. Absolutely. If you're already, you have to take the 25-hydroxy D test, the lab test.
Yeah.
If you're showing below 30, I totally agree with you. Maybe even up to 10,000 units for a while.
But Life Extension says you should be over 50, not over 30.
Every day.
They say that your level should be over 50, really, to be in healthy levels.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's still 30. No, 30 is minimal. It's not optimal.
Okay.
No, optimal would be 50 to 70. That would be. I always have a vitamin D test. The last time I took it, mine was 59, which is pretty good.
That's great. Yeah, that's great.
It's going to have it too high over 70. When it gets to about 100, then you have the problem with the calcium deposition in the body, which a lot of people also don't know is, and I strongly suggest this, if anyone takes vitamin D in larger amounts, you should also be taking vitamin K.
K2. Right.
Specifically K2 and K2, K4, K7, because what that vitamin does, it tends to veer the calcium away from the tissue, tissues, where they shouldn't be, and into the bone where they're supposed to be. It activates an enzyme. But one other thing I want to say real quick, Dave, is my personal peeve. I just wanted to voice this in public. Is I'm really enraged at these motherfuckers. It's the only word these people that you see, they're already going out in pools and they're hanging out with each other and they're fucking breathing in and they're completely oblivious. They deny the existence of this virus.
Yeah.
Here's what bothers me. Those people are going to extend this shit. I mean, if they only do a little common sense, we could all go back to normal. But these people, because they're going to spread the virus, the government officials are going to say, "Oh no, the virus is going up again.
Right.
We got to back to the." They don't realize, they cry about the economy. Those people are going to hurt all of us. I want to punch them all out when I see that. It really pisses me off, man. I mean, why can't you use a little comment? I'm not saying you shouldn't go out and enjoy yourself, but just keep away from each other.
Wasn't there a guy who did that and then he wound up in a hospital bed? I saw some video on Facebook about the guy who's on a ventilator in the hospital. He's like, "Oh, I was wrong. I'm sorry."
Yeah.
But you know what, Dave? You're going to see a lot more of that. Take my word for it. Because what Fauci, these other guys, they're talking about a second wave coming in September or so.
Sure.
I think. At first I said, they're trying to scare people. How could they predict something like that? You know what I mean? Yeah. But then I saw the videos, we've all seen them on the news, of these people again in the pools and at the beaches, and they're right next to each other.
Right.
No mask, nothing. That's going to be the second wave. I'm telling you, it's coming.
Jerry, there's so much. Is this virus ever going to be gone? I mean, I mean, legitimately, it can just be passed on. And now they're saying that they don't even know if you could actually get rid of the virus. They think it might almost be like a herpes virus, which it stays with you forever and it can be reactivated because people are getting second and third cases of the stuff.
Well, you know what it is, Dave? It's going to be just like the flu. The flu virus was never eradicated. As you know, the problem with the viruses is they mutate.
Yeah.
You know, and this particular virus that causes COVID-19 has already mutated. In other words, and it's going to continue to do that. But here's what they believe. With each passing couple of months or a year, whatever you want to call it, the seriousness, in other words, will go down. In other words, it'll be more like the flu, where, in other words, you can still get sick from it, but it's not going to put you on a ventilator and kill you. In other words, the virulence will go down a lot.
Well, how do they know that? They're just speculating, obviously. There's no one, we haven't seen it. We've never seen a virus like this before, so.
They're speculating on because of what happened with the previous coronaviruses, like the SARS virus.
Yeah.
This has happened. It started out real strong and then gradually just petered out. It's still around, but you don't hear about it anymore because nobody really gets too sick from it.
Gotcha.
And that's what's going to probably happen. But if you're asking me when exactly that will happen, nobody could really say. It's hard to say because, again, we don't know the mutation rate. And again, if people continue to act stupid and pass it on, they're basically keeping the virus strong is the only way to put it.
Right.
I mean, they're hurting themselves. I hear them, and you know, I don't like stores being closed. I don't like it. It makes me cry to see small businesses go out. I hate to see this stuff. But the thing is, these people have to understand if you just do a couple of minor things, then, you know, eventually maybe we can get some what they call herd immunity, where, you know, people just stop passing it on. That's when things will really go back to normal.
Right.
But the dummies that are going out and just, you know, hanging out and going to the beach and breathing on each other, they're going to keep this thing going. They're hurting all of us. Those people are so freaking stupid.
Yeah.
You know, they're the ones that cry the most. Oh, I don't have my job and my blah, 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 blah. But they're they're shooting themselves.
Yeah.
Why can't they use just common sense? And again, you know, getting back to the mask, wear the mask in public. You know what I mean? In other words,
supermarkets, stuff like that. Yeah.
Supermarkets, you really should. You go to Costco, one of those you want to. But as far as the gyms go, no. In other words, you can't wear a mask when you're physically active. That is going to increase the carbon dioxide risk. And you could, you know, especially again, if you have any kind of pre-existing lung disease, like Mike says, you could pass out and break your face. It could happen. You know, I mean, so, you know, you just common sense. Yeah. I mean,
are you good? I know you love the gym, Jerry. Are you going to go back to the gym, or are you scared?
You know, it's funny. I was just thinking about this the other day. I'm thinking if Gold's Gym, there's rumors that Gold's Gym might open in August, right? And I said to myself, you know, will I go back right away? And I know Gold's Gym, I know they're going to institute all the stuff we talked about. But the thing is, it all depends on how they schedule the workouts. In other words, I'm a night person.
You think it's going to be till August when Gold's opens up? August?
I think so, yeah.
How are these gyms staying in business till August? I mean, I don't even know how anyone's going to be even around.
Well, they've already declared bankruptcy to keep them, you know, going. So, you know, that's one thing. But the thing is, I think Gold's is going to do what Equinox does. I think they're going to probably schedule workouts. Yeah. Now, if they were to call me up or you know, send me a message saying, well, Jerry, you have to train at 10 a.m.
Jerry, you get the 4 a.m. slot. Can you come in at 3 a.m. when Charles Glass opens the gym? That's when you're going to have to train.
I can handle the 4 a.m. because I'm up at 4 a.m. But if they tell me I have to be there at, let's say, 9 a.m., 10 a.m., no gym for me.
Mike, thank you so much for coming on. Jerry, thank you for coming on. I love talking to you guys. And keep us updated, Mike, on what goes on with the California State Legislature, and you're doing good stuff over there.
Thank you, Dave. Appreciate the opportunity.
All right, guys. And that's going to take us to an end of another episode of GuruTalk. I hope you guys enjoyed today's issues. If you have any statements or you have any suggestions or you want to, Mike, what if people want to reach you? How can they reach out to you?
They can, I have operationfitness.com.
Okay.
And it's Michael at operationfitness.com. They can send me their thoughts, anything they need me to do. I'm like I said, the fitness police. Anything they want me to investigate, I'll bring experts like Jerry in. I'll bring the legal aspect to it to go after anybody that's causing harm to any citizen around the world.
All right. That's great news. And once again, we'll keep you guys updated as it comes about. In the comments below, if you have any questions for these guys and we want to get them back again, please post them. For now, I'm Dave Palumbo with another edition of Guru Talk.